Anyways, what's up, YouTube land? It's been a long time. Oh, come on, dog. You want to come up here? The other dog. Come on. Come on, Dido. Oh, he wants to make an appearance. Whoa, it's little Fluff. There's a little Fluff with a little Fluff face. Oh my goodness. Hello. He's stinky. Anyway. Yes, dogs. It's been a while since I've done an actual video update as far as video diary is concerned. And I think that now lends itself as a good time for me to do just that. I was really struggling with my job as far as everything is concerned. It was a really tough decision that I recently made to give my resignation notice. I was really hoping that they would allow me to come in and work part-time, anywhere between 5 to 20 hours a week, which isn't asking for too much, but they didn't want that to happen, citing that it was not a good idea and that they needed more. So I am actually leaving. I had been there at the shelter for 5 years. I started off as a vet tech. I did a lot of different things, husbandry and behavior evaluations, and then things got a little bit rough, so I applied for a management position a few years ago, and I went into a manager role where I was managing the training classes and the trainers as well. I was really enjoying that job. I had so many plans to grow the department. I had plans for different kinds of classes. We could throw trick classes and, whatever. I had all these ideas and plans for it. And at that time, we ended up getting a new executive director. My position was literally ripped from me and handed to somebody else. And when they did that, they wanted to force me into a position that I was not comfortable in. At that time, I just couldn't do what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to manage the intake department, and they also wanted me to do behavior work with somebody that I felt was placing marginal dogs. We had a lot of dogs coming back as bite cases because we were placing some dogs that probably should not be placed. So I quit. I didn't even have a job lined up at the time. I put my 2-week notice in and I left. That was heart-wrenching for me then, but I couldn't do what they wanted me to do. So I ended up coming back on as an investigations coordinator. It was my goal for a very long time to work my way into the investigations department, and I kept getting pushed aside for other people or just looked over. And for some reason, the organization did not want to invest in me to send me to the training classes that were required for the position. They didn't want to spend the money, or they didn't have the money. It would have been easy to come up with if we would have marketed it the right way, but they didn't want to do that, and so I wasn't able to move into that position until somebody else was moving out, who was like the coordinator for the position. At that point, I went in and I started fielding the calls and trying to repair some of the damage that was done, because for a very long time, there was very poor record keeping in that department. So I started to fix that, and I used to go on the calls with the officer until they decided that I wasn't insured properly, and I was pulled from being able to help the officer. At that point, the officer burned out, and he quit. He quit because he had no backup. He quit because he was frustrated, tired, worn out, and burned out, which can happen very fast in a humane position like that, as a humane agent. I would like to think that if things were running smoothly, if he had backup, if I was enabled instead of disabled, that department would not have died, because we would have kept it going. But when the officer quit, I watched the department slowly slip away. And then the organizations merged together. Two organizations merged to make one. And of all the places they could put me, they shoved me into the intake department, which was one of the reasons why I quit a couple of years back. So here I was, finally in a position again that I liked, ripped from me again, and thrown into a different department. I stayed another 8 months in that position. I tried to get out of it. I applied for different positions throughout the shelter. One I didn't get because I supposedly didn't have what they were looking for, but then rumor got back to me that they didn't want to pull me away from what I was doing with the animals because I was really good at it, and they didn't want me to work in an office again. They wanted me to keep working with the dogs. Nice little word to get back to me because now I'm not there at all. So I don't know how that helped anything. I tried a couple other ways to get out of where I was and was threatened with taking a pay cut each time. I am a single mother. I own my own home, my own car. I have pets. I have 2 children. I can't afford a pay cut. So it was very unfair. Finally my back hit the wall and I realized that I just had nothing left. They'd taken everything away as far as things that I enjoyed. I got to the point where I no longer felt that I was helping animals or people. I just felt miserable all the time and started looking for other work. Found other work. I start in a couple weeks, actually a week and a half. And my last day at the shelter is this Friday. I think one of the things that tears me up the most is that I've been working with a dog that came from a Korean meat farm. When I met her, she was reactive. She was afraid of people. She didn't know what to do with herself. She was broken, timid. She was practically feral. I spent the last 7.5 months working with her, hand feeding her, gaining her trust, and then the last couple weeks she finally allowed me to pet her. Now there's situations surrounding that. I can't just walk up on her and be like, hey, because she does get skittish. But if I sit down on the floor, eventually she comes over, she sits next to me, and she allows such a thing to happen. I am so afraid of leaving that dog behind and not being able to work with her anymore. In fact, it absolutely crushes my soul. Because if anything happens to her now, I'll probably just blame myself. But at any rate, so tomorrow I'm taking one of my PTO days, and then Friday will be my last day. Today was my last day in one of the buildings. It was the building that I started at 5 years ago. And walking out of that building knowing that this was it was the last time I would leave that building as an employee. Oh my gosh, was it soul crushing to me. I never wanted to leave my job. I never wanted to quit that line of work. Ever. It was what I was made to do. But unfortunately, I was forced out. They threw my back so hard against the wall, and when I asked for help or asked for a meeting or requested some information from senior staff, I was given the shaft. I had requested a meeting about 7 or 8 weeks ago, and it never happened. It needed to happen. It probably could have saved me from actually leaving, but it didn't happen. And, other staff members who are so appalled by me leaving, they've told me that the organization's really lost lost out. The animals have lost out. Yeah, everybody there's lost out the moment I walk out the door. That's a lot of weight. That is a ton of weight to deal with. And I know that things will probably suffer in my absence. Because people can only do what they do. You know, you can't like clone people, and you know, me having the behavior knowledge I have now not being there, it's definitely going to take a toll. But you know, I had told one woman, she's been there 35 years. I told her today that it was my last day leaving that building as an employee. And I also told her that I offered to stay and do some part-time work, you know, behavior work, so that the animals would benefit, and that it was denied. And she said to me, "Why? You're so good at what you do. You're so good at what you do." And when I hear compliments like that, I got so used to feeling no good, feeling worthless and pointless and like nothing, that when somebody with that kind of background, 35 years of background in the field, tells me that I'm good at something, I just started bawling. Like, tears just flowed out, because I know in my heart that I am good at what I do. And the people that matter, they recognize it. But there's nothing I can do to get senior staff or the directors to recognize such a thing. And because of it, you know, everything loses. Everything loses. So I've been really tore up about this whole work thing. It's been very, very hard for me to deal with. On the weight front, I was doing good, and then I wasn't, then I was, then I wasn't, then I was, then I wasn't. I previewed myself on the scale prior, it was this morning, and found that somehow during the course of the week I gained 8 pounds. I don't know how you gain 8 pounds in the course of a week, but I did. I did fall off the wagon hard on Monday. I binged. I don't know how or why. I think it was just, you know, trying to find comfort in something in a world that right now I have no control over. It seems that everything around me is just falling apart, and that I just don't have any control. So I binged. I ate probably around, I don't know, 10 candy bars and a pack of freaking hot dogs and a giant sundae. Felt really bad about myself afterwards, but figured I'd hop right back on the wagon Tuesday, and I did. And yesterday and today I've managed to eliminate the sugars and not given to temptation of eating all of the candies. But I'm ashamed of myself. I guarantee you that a lot of my issue is that for the past couple of months, I've had my period twice a month. Not once, but twice a month. There's nothing worse than dealing with this type of hormonal spike. You know, and here I am dealing with it again. I just got over this 2 weeks ago, and I'm going through it all over again. I don't know if that's like a precursor to menopause. I don't know what's going on with my body that way, and as of Friday, I won't be able to know, because I will lose my health insurance until my new insurance kicks in, whenever it kicks in with the new job. So I have to really hope that nothing happens to me in the meantime. I am really frustrated with everything right now, and I think that the hormone problem on top of everything else, or maybe everything else is a cause of the hormone problem, I don't know. But yeah, having your period twice a month for the last couple of months really blows. Really, really blows. So hopefully once I'm out of the high stress level that I'm in, that this regulates again and that I'll be okay. But it's ridiculous. Well, I think I've been chatting for 15 minutes now. So that's about, where I'm at right now as far as emotions are concerned. I still struggle with a lot of things with my partner. I never wanted to be struggling with my partner, but I do, and it's nothing he's done. He's been absolutely wonderful. It's just that I get so afraid when I feel like things are going good between us because, I'm so afraid to get comfortable because I'm afraid that as soon as I breathe again, that I'll be left again. It's like I'm always kind of gearing up for the moment that, someone looks at me and says, I can't stand you. I hate you. Again, this all could be like hormonal stuff talking, but, yeah, I've been doing an awful lot of comparing myself to other people, and like, I see myself as this giant fat blob, and these other people are so successful, and here I am starting over at 42 years old, starting over again, trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up, when I already had that planned, and it's just too much. And like my whole house is pretty much falling down around me, and I'm trying so hard to keep my shit together, but I'm struggling so hard with it. Yeah, so I mean, I don't mean to feel paranoid on the inside regarding my partner, because there's nothing I want more than to just be able to be happy in the moment without thinking that the next moment's gonna be turmoil, or without thinking that they're really unhappy with me or not attracted to me, or I'm a horrible person because I can't seem to lose the 30 pounds that I'd like to lose. Yeah, and I mean, I would love to lose like 40 more pounds. And, yes, I know I came from a place where it was much, much higher. When my ex left me, I was 238 pounds. I'm 160 something now, 164, whatever it is. But, that's not small crackers. I mean, that's a huge weight loss. And while I should be so proud of losing that amount of weight, all I can focus on is the rest of the weight and how I can't seem to lose it, and how I'm failing at everything. So there's so much more to everything, I guess. Hormonally, and my age, and what my body's been through as far as stress and childbirth and everything. Like, I cannot compare myself to people that haven't lived my life, but yet I still continue to do it. It's like a terrible way. I find ways to beat myself up, where I could be like, oh yeah, I know I did this thing, but I didn't do this much of this thing. Like, why can't I just be happy that, I got so far, and I'm still, a work in progress. I don't know why I can't just be happy about being a work in progress, and why I feel like I've done something wrong because I'm not at my goals yet. So at any rate, yeah, that's like all the things. Last month, my stepfather suddenly passed away. That also is, causing me some turmoil too. Feeling very bad for my mother. Just lost in general. I have no father figures now. My own dad, my real dad died a couple years back, and now my stepfather passed away, and I've never had a grandfather. My mom's father, which would have been my grandfather on my mother's side, he actually committed suicide when my mom was 9 years old, and he jumped off of what is known in Pittsburgh as the Suicide Bridge, the Westinghouse Bridge. He leapt off of there onto some railroad tracks, and his body was hit by a train once he hit the bottom, which is just crazy. But yep, that's how he ended up passing away. My father's father, we don't know. Who knows who that is, right? Um, so, I don't have any more male figures left in my family. Um, I oftentimes feel very sorry for my children because, um, they don't get to see their own father because he makes no effort to be in their lives. I think the last time my younger daughter saw her dad was maybe 2 years ago, something like that. It's to the point where she had to call him on her own birthday because he didn't call her. I know a lot of people go through this with their families and the male figures in their family, but it's really hard to see my kids go through that. That's painful to me. And that's where, I'm so dumbfounded by my partner sometimes because he's not my kid's dad. Like, he doesn't need to be any part of their life. He doesn't need to do anything for them. But yet, when he knows things are going on with my daughter, he does what he can to send some support her way. When he knew she had tryouts for something, he actually messaged her and told her good luck. And, he tries to make himself available in case they need to talk about anything. And I guess in many ways, he's more of a dad than her own dad is. So I should be so thankful, but at the same time, I'm just riddled with guilt. I don't know how to not feel bad about anything right now. So I guess I should cut this short. 20 minutes of yammering is probably more than enough for an update. But yeah, that's about all the things right now, since I haven't updated in such a long time. Maybe I'll update a little more regularly to spare everybody 21 minutes of blabbermouth. But yeah, I really, if you made it this far, my goodness, good for you. You deserve a cookie. Or something. Like, if you don't eat cookies, then maybe a banana. I don't know. But if you did make it this far, I appreciate you watching and listening. Sometimes it just feels good to get this all out and know that somebody out there, somebody might be listening, somebody might hear me. Maybe, this is my way of just crying out. I don't know. But thank you very much for watching. I have to look at where I'm pressing the button because I always miss it. I hope everybody has a great week. Bye.